Salutations, humans. It's Jaden over here. Today we're going to be talking about Invincible seasons 1 to 3. I'm probably going to bounce around a bit, but I just kind of want to gush about these series. Spoiler alert, it is amazing. Should you go watch it? Do you want to watch it? Just go and freaking watch the show. It is great. I grew up watching shows like the Justice League and all kinds of other superhero shows, and as well as anime and Naruto and blah 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 blah. But this show is something special because I haven't watched shows like that in a long time. Cartoons. You have those superhero moments that are super quirky and like, wow, that should be maybe in a kid's show the way they're acting, and then you get like very serious, a lot of serious. So essentially, big spoilers, obviously. Right now, so the story starts with this guy. His name is Mark Grayson, and his father is like the strongest superhero that anyone on Earth has ever heard of. And he's half human. He knows that his father's a Viltrumite, so he's an alien. And he's like, when am I gonna get my powers? And his dad keeps telling him, like, someday you're gonna get them. Someday things are gonna pop off for you. Don't worry about it. Go to school. I'm just gonna be the awesome superhero dad. You see the dad saving people's lives and all this other stuff. And then one day, he comes home and he's like, "Hey, I got my superpowers." And you're just watching this. If you don't know anything, you're sitting there like, that's cool. They get to be like superhero son and father. What happens though is his dad goes absolutely ballistic. He murders all the other like super strong superheroes on Earth and then goes into a coma. And then that's kind of where the series starts and things start piecing themselves together. So season 1 was a wild ride, and it kind of takes that moment in the beginning and it asks certain questions, of Mark, and like if he's ready to be a superhero, if he's ready to do these things. Meanwhile, that his dad is like a crazy murderer, and in the very finale, you reach that in season 1 where they confront each other and they have the showdown and everything, and it is wild. Okay, this show is not for kids. It is violent. You see guts and whole chunks of people flying everywhere. You see heads spun around, heads ripped off. I'm telling you, you see the craziest things. Especially during those last 2 episodes, it was quite surprising. I didn't know they could make you wince by seeing something in cartoon form, but whoever's doing the design with the guts and gore, they're doing a great job. And yeah, season 1 is a good time, and it left obviously us wanting more. We want to see what happens next, because essentially his dad like beats him up and then he flies to another planet. And season 2 comes along, and now I guess I'll start talking a little bit about the series in general, because while I'm just going to gush about this the whole time, I want to talk about different aspects. The music choices they use, they seem all pretty solid. Every once in a while they do like a mini little music number. It's serviceable. It's not something I need in my show, but it's not bad either. The animation is fantastic, guys, and the action, like I was just briefly touching on, the action is amazing. The action scenes are great, but there's never a moment where I'm watching the show where I want the action more than the story, and or vice versa. Like it's all good, and that's something very special for me to say, because I'm very impatient, like TV, video games, all kinds of stuff. Like I'll skip through stuff if it bores me and I don't want to listen to it. But I wanted to understand what was happening in the show. I wanted to see the world and the characters, and they make everyone very interesting and have their own developments. And based on the way that they've told the story, that things tie into each other, right? They don't just show you things for nothing, and there is a lot of payoff with characters and their story arcs. But a little bit on season 2, we get more of what is my favorite character. I knew it would be Alan the alien. The guy's super funny and random, and super fun character. And my other character, which I would say is like number 1 for me, don't hate, okay, don't be mad, it's Cecil. Okay, I think Cecil, to me, is like the favorite character. I don't think it's ever going to change unless he dies. But I understand, and I know I was watching this show with my girlfriend. She fucking hated Cecil. She's like, "Oh, he's so annoying," and I'm like, he has no other choice but to make these decisions because no one else will, or at the very least, he's the one in charge, and he's got to do something. Like this alien, like when his dad came to Earth, just destroyed everything. He just easily, and he could have kept going, but he's like, I'm bored, and then left. So, so Caesar's like, oh man, we probably don't want that to happen again. So he starts doing things that later on in the series, the main character figures out. Like he starts using like zombie reanimated men that this very evil, unorthodox scientist makes. That he should have been in jail because he did a bunch of crazy shit. But he starts using him as someone to help them and a bunch of other stuff. But you get a lot of moments with Cecil, and I think that you can understand his motivations and why he's doing what he's doing. It's just to protect people, right? He's not an evil character, I wouldn't say. But when it comes to season 2 and its wrap up, you definitely start feeling an effect after season 1, after the ending. You start feeling like, because you've seen all that like violence and like the gore and everything, you're like, wow, when is something bad going to happen? When are people going to die? Who's going to die next? And you see the main character, Mark Grayson, have just anger and just not knowing how to deal with his emotions. And you wonder if maybe he's just going to punch a villain too hard one day and that's it, right? They're just dead. It doesn't treat superheroes the way that other shows will. Like if you go too fast somewhere, there's an effect, right? Like there's scenes where you'll see Mark Grayson flying somewhere super fast and then a bunch of dust kicks up and you're like, ah, that's probably how the physics would work on that, right? And you realize that humans and squishy people are very fragile, right? It's so easy for them to die if they're anywhere near close. You don't see that in shows like the old kids cartoons or Justice League, this or that. You get amazingly serious moments, but this show very much makes a point to show you like all this superhero grand stuff they're doing. It's not as glorious as you might think of it as a kid, because as a kid you think of it as, hey, this is going to be the most fun thing ever. What if I had superpowers? And then you see the reality, which is displayed in the show, which is, you know, you're fighting these guys who are very violent, who might kill people or kill you. And that is probably my favorite thing about the show. That realism aspect is done very well. And yeah, so season 2, a lot of great plot points in there. Talked about my favorite characters. And like moving on to season 3, actually not even moving on, I want to talk briefly about Angstrom Levy as like a villain or side villain, whatever you want to call him. I think his fight with Mark Grayson, I'm either going to put that or maybe the fight with Conquest as my favorite fights of the series. They're so good and they're rewatchable, so I'm probably going to watch those again. But yeah, going into season 3, spoiler alert, Angstrom Levy comes back and he's not happy. He's angry and Mark has to deal with him. He's basically, Angstrom Levy, what happened to make them enemies is he wanted world peace, he wanted to help people, and then giant explosion happened in his lab because Mark came at the wrong time. He has the power to like go through dimensions, and he brings a bunch of versions of himself and hooks them up to a machine. But when it blows up, all their brains get fused together, and one of them, or probably a few of them from the multiverse, don't have very good opinions of Mark. So he goes crazy. And great character too. The villains are cool. And you don't really feel like, oh man, Angstrom Levy's just a bad guy. It's like you get why he feels what he feels. And the show does that very well. I'm not going to say that it makes all villains redeemable and that's what makes it cool, but even Omni-Man, you know, he's not redeemable. You know, like you see him on screen, you're like, oh, come on, this guy. Like, he's kind of like a terrible dude, but like there's a glimmer of someone in there who's not completely the worst ever. And you kind of just sit along for his story and you want to see how it ends anyway. And they do a good job of pulling you in to characters that otherwise, if done wrong, you would just hate the whole time. You're still thinking about what could happen or what will happen. Like Rex is another good example too. And these characters are well written because you want to engage with them, you know? So yeah, season 3 was awesome. The ending was awesome. Again, like whenever action happens, you have this fear that someone's going to die because they just show it so, it's just so visceral when you see guts and stuff flying. And there's this one scene with Conquest holding Mark's brother, like about to tear him apart, and just like you're sitting there and you're like, how is this gonna happen? Like you can feel that, you know, because they've done such a great job. And that's pretty much it. I'm just gushing about Invincible. I don't know how things are gonna go down. Okay, Invincible season 4 is this March, and to be honest, if I'm gonna wait that long, I'm gonna have to be.